They say clarity is power. But what if I told you that waiting for clarity is the very thing keeping you powerless? You sit, you plan, you analyze every angle, every outcome. You wait for the perfect moment, the perfect sign, the perfect feeling. But perfection is a mirage, and clarity is often the reward of movement, not its prerequisite. Napoleon Hill once said, "Do not wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand." Yet here you are standing still, paralyzed by the illusion that more information will lead to better decisions. But the truth is, action breeds clarity, not the other way around. Think of Thomas Edison, who conducted thousands of experiments before perfecting the light bulb. He didn't wait for a guaranteed outcome. He moved in obedience to his vision. Each failure illuminated the path forward, each misstep a lesson in disguise. Or consider Henry Ford, who revolutionized the automobile industry, not by waiting for the market to demand it, but by creating the demand through relentless action. He didn't seek clarity, he created it. These pioneers understood a fundamental truth: obedience to one's vision precedes understanding. They moved, they acted, they built, often in the dark, often alone. So why do you wait? You tell yourself you need more time, more resources, more assurance. But deep down you know that's not true. What you need is the courage to take the first step, to trust the process, to move in obedience to the calling within you. Because the path to success is not illuminated by certainty. It's forged through action. Each step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to the clarity you seek. So stop waiting. Start moving. Obedience is the seed. Clarity is the harvest. You want alignment. You want confirmation. You want every light to turn green before you take your foot off the brake. But life doesn't work like that. Destiny rarely comes with a GPS. God rarely hands you a blueprint. You are being called to move not because it's safe, but because it's right. The ones who wait for clarity miss their moment. The ones who move in obedience create the clarity everyone else is still waiting for. Let that sink in. When Noah built the ark, there was no rain. When Abraham left his home, there was no map. When David stepped onto the battlefield, there was no assurance he'd win. But obedience doesn't need proof, it needs trust. You want peace. It's on the other side of obedience. You want purpose. It's buried beneath your reluctance to act. You want the door to open. Then start walking toward it, even if it still looks locked. There is no such thing as a perfect time. There is only obedience and excuses. And every time you choose to delay what you know you've been called to do, you trade your power for comfort. You trade your legacy for logic. You trade divine purpose for man-made permission. And maybe that's why you're still restless. Because deep down, you know you're not waiting on clarity. You're hiding from commitment. You're not stuck because of circumstance, you're stuck because of indecision. And indecision is the enemy of destiny. What have you been postponing? What instruction have you ignored? What dream have you kept in the draft folder of your life, polishing it endlessly, but never publishing it to the world? You already know what to do. You just haven't become the person who's willing to do it without applause, without guarantees, without a roadmap. But let me tell you something. The most powerful decision you will ever make is the one nobody understands, the one that requires faith over facts, movement over motivation, and obedience over optics. Because you don't need everyone to get it. You need to get moving. If this message hit you deep, if you're done living stuck, if this stirred something you know you can't ignore, like the video not for us, but as a signal to yourself that this moment mattered, drop a comment. Let us know what you're breaking free from. Share it. Someone in your life is silently drowning, waiting for a word like this. And most of all, if this message hit you deep, if you're done living stuck, if this stirred something you know you can't ignore, Like the video, not for us, but as a signal to yourself that this moment mattered. Drop a comment. Let us know what you're breaking free from. Share it. Someone in your life is silently drowning, waiting for a word like this. And most of all, you are waiting for clarity. But what if clarity is waiting for movement? What if the next chapter of your life isn't revealed until you start writing the first sentence? What if the provision doesn't show up until you step out? What if heaven is holding its breath, waiting to see if you'll believe in what you were born to do even when it's blurry? The calling doesn't need your comfort. The purpose doesn't need your perfection. The vision doesn't need to make sense to others, it only needs to be obeyed by you. Because clarity is not the reward for comfort. Clarity is the reward for courage. The mountain doesn't move before you start climbing. The sea doesn't part while you stand on the shore. The door doesn't swing open for the one who stands still with arms crossed. It's the one who knocks. It's the one who seeks. It's the one who risks looking foolish, who ends up being called wise. History doesn't remember the ones who waited. It remembers the ones who moved when it was dark, when it was lonely, when it made no sense. So if you're waiting for a feeling, you're already behind. If you're waiting for a green light from the world, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. Because purpose doesn't need permission, and obedience is not a suggestion. It is the key. You don't need clarity to obey. You need conviction. You need belief. So rooted it doesn't shake just because you can't see the end. Let me ask you something raw, something uncomfortable. Who would you be right now if you had obeyed the first time you felt it? The first time you felt the pull? The first time you heard the whisper? The first time your soul said, move? Where would you be? What would be different? You don't need to beat yourself up, but you do need to wake up. Because delayed obedience is still disobedience. And disobedience doesn't just cost you comfort, it costs you calling. It costs you peace. It costs you the version of yourself you keep praying to become, but refuse to step into. You can't keep asking for a map when what you've been given is a mission. You weren't designed to follow a path that's already been paved for you. You were designed to create the path for others to follow. That's why it feels uncomfortable, because it's yours to build, not borrow. Every time you hesitate, every time you analyze it to death, you bury momentum in a shallow grave. And do you know what's scarier than failing? Spending the rest of your life wondering what would have happened if you had obeyed. You've been praying for a breakthrough, but maybe the breakthrough has been praying for you to move. You've been asking God for a sign, but He's already given it. It's the unrest in your spirit. It's the fire that won't die no matter how long you've ignored it. That discomfort you feel, that is divine discomfort. It's the signal, the nudge, the friction that's trying to force you out of a life you've outgrown. The reason you can't get peace where you are is because your purpose isn't there anymore. You've mastered the room you're in, and now you're suffocating in it. Because growth always requires departure, and departure always demands obedience. You think you're stuck because you're not sure what to do. But the truth is, you're stuck because you haven't yet decided to do what you already know. You're not lacking strategy, you're lacking surrender. And here's the hard truth. Clarity is forged in fire, not comfort. You will never feel ready. Because readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. A decision to leap even when your knees are trembling. A decision to trust even when the road disappears under your feet. A decision to believe that purpose doesn't begin when conditions are perfect. It begins the moment you say yes. Yes to uncertainty. Yes to stretching. Yes to the calling that's been stalking your thoughts in the silence. So stop trying to figure it all out before you move. That's not faith, that's control. And control is the enemy of obedience. You cannot control what happens after obedience. You can only control whether or not you answer when purpose knocks. And friend, it's knocking. Right now. Not next year. Not when you get more confident. Not when people start believing in you. Now. Because the truth is, you are already equipped for what you've been assigned. But your obedience is the access point to unlock what's been dormant inside you. The clarity you're waiting for is on the other side of your courage. You're asking for confirmation. But what you really need is confrontation. A confrontation with your excuses. A confrontation with your patterns. A confrontation with the version of you that's been hiding behind, "I'm still figuring it out" for too long. You don't need more signs. You need more surrender. This is where most people miss it. They think clarity will make obedience easier. But it doesn't. Because the hardest obedience always comes before the understanding. Noah didn't wait for rain to build the ark. Moses didn't wait for the Red Sea to part before stepping forward. Abraham didn't wait to see the ram before he raised the knife. They moved. They obeyed. They acted with conviction, not certainty. And that's the secret. Certainty isn't the foundation of faith, obedience is. You think you're being cautious, but really you're just being comfortable. You think you're being wise, but really you're being disobedient in disguise. Because real obedience doesn't always make sense. It doesn't always look smart on paper. It doesn't always get applause or validation or instant results. But it always leads to transformation. The calling on your life doesn't need your full understanding. It needs your full commitment. You've got too many dreams waiting in the basement of your hesitation. Too many ideas shackled to your analysis. Too many moments God tried to elevate you, but you declined the invitation because the staircase wasn't labeled. You are not stuck because you're unworthy. You're stuck because you're unwilling to move without knowing the whole picture. But here's the reality. Destiny is not revealed. It is revealed in motion. That dream in your spirit, it's not a fantasy. It's a seed. But seeds don't grow in storage. They grow in soil. They grow when planted, when risked, when watered with discipline and sunlight and time. And yes, the process is slow. Yes, the dirt is dark. Yes, people may doubt you. Yes, you will question yourself some days. But obedience isn't about comfort. It's about character. And character is what unlocks favor. You keep praying for God to bless what you haven't even started. You keep asking for acceleration when you haven't even taken the first step. So take it. Now, while it's uncertain, while it's foggy, while the voice of fear is still echoing in your head. Take it anyway, move anyway, build anyway, obey anyway, because the cost of obedience is high. But the cost of disobedience, it's your peace, it's your purpose, it's your power, and it's time to stop giving that away. Your breakthrough isn't waiting in the perfect plan. It's waiting in your imperfect step. That moment when you say, "I don't see the whole road, but I trust the one who paved it." That moment when you stop needing permission to become what you were always meant to be. That moment when you realize the real war is not outside. It's the battle between what you believe and how long you're willing to wait for comfort before you commit to courage. Let's get honest. You don't need another 90-day plan. You need a 9-second decision. One moment of defiance against fear. One moment of obedience despite the doubt. One moment of choosing movement over mental gymnastics. That's how destinies shift. Not in years, but in moments. Not in brilliance, but in boldness. Because obedience doesn't always shout, it whispers. It nudges. It tugs at your spirit when you're trying to act like everything is fine. It shows up when you're tired of playing small, but terrified to play big. It's that tension you feel when you know staying still is safer, but it's also a slow death to your potential. Some of you are waiting for lightning, but God often speaks in whispers. Subtle, gentle, clear only to those whose hearts are positioned in humility, not clarity. Humility. Because pride says I'll obey when it makes sense, but faith says I'll obey because He said go. And when you obey without applause, without confirmation, without guarantees, that's when heaven moves. That's when the invisible becomes real. That's when doors that were sealed begin to creak open. That's when the things you thought were lost forever start showing up at your feet because you finally stopped trying to figure it out and started walking it out. Stop demanding clarity as a prerequisite. Start treating obedience as the strategy. Obedience is the currency of progress. Obedience is the secret of every success story you admire. Not talent, not connections, not even luck. Just one obedient decision, multiplied over time. And yes, it will cost you. It will cost you ego. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you the illusion of control. But what you gain peace that surpasses understanding. Strength you never knew you had. Doors you couldn't open on your own. And a life that finally aligns with the voice inside of you that refuses to die. You keep asking for purpose, but purpose has been waiting for your obedience. You keep praying for the next level, but the next level is built with bricks called discipline, risk, and trust. So build it. Now, even when it's messy, even when the blueprint is unclear, even when you have to build with trembling hands, because obedience is not just an act, it is an announcement. An announcement to heaven that you're ready. An announcement to fear that you're done. An announcement to the world that you've decided you won't let comfort write your story. You won't let clarity delay your destiny. The enemy of your future isn't failure, it's hesitation. It's standing still while your destiny keeps calling louder every day. You think you're protecting yourself by waiting, but really, you're postponing what could have already been yours. You don't need more time. You need more truth. The truth is, the longer you delay, the louder your doubts become. The more you rehearse your fears, the more real they feel. And the more you justify staying stuck, the more comfortable your cage becomes. But cages don't come with warning signs. They come with routines. They come with excuses that sound noble. They come with prayers that never turn into action. And before you know it, you're spiritually asleep, dreaming of a life you never lived because you never moved when it mattered. Let this be your wake-up call. Not the kind that jolts your body, but the kind that revives your soul. The truth is this: you already know what needs to change. You already feel the pull. You already hear the whisper that says, "Go now," before comfort convinces you to stay. That's not anxiety. That's alignment trying to get your attention. Alignment always feels uncomfortable at first, because the old you has to get out of the way. Because obedience isn't just about doing, it's about becoming. Obedience reshapes identity. It breaks attachments. It rewires how you see yourself. Because every time you say yes to obedience, you say no to who you used to be. You stop feeding fear. You stop entertaining doubt. You stop tolerating half-effort living. You become someone who doesn't need clarity to move, only conviction. Because God doesn't waste obedience, even when it feels unseen, even when it gets no applause, even when it looks like nothing's changing. Behind the curtain, obedience is doing what waiting never could. It's building you, sharpening you, positioning you for things that will blow your mind. But you'll never see it if you keep standing still waiting for a sign when the sign was the stirring inside you the whole time. So here's the question that changes everything. What would happen if you obeyed fully, boldly, immediately, without overthinking, without delay, without demanding the map, just following the compass? How different would your life look 30 days from now? How much peace would return to your spirit? How much power would you reclaim from the things that have kept you small? You're not powerless. You're just paused. And every second you stay paused, you're teaching your potential to shrink in silence. But you weren't created to shrink. You were created to stand, to move, to walk by faith, not sight. And that walk begins now with a single act of obedience that breaks the chains of confusion and finally sets your destiny in motion. You think obedience is about rules. It's not. It's about rhythm. The rhythm of movement. The rhythm of trusting without needing the full picture. It's about stepping even when the path is fogged, because the one who called you knows the way. God doesn't give blueprints. He gives instructions. Simple ones, small ones, often uncomfortable ones. And the moment you move with them, they multiply. Doors that looked sealed begin to creak open. Connections you couldn't have orchestrated fall into place. Favor follows your footsteps like a shadow. Because motion activates provision. Because obedience unlocks access. But as long as you hesitate, as long as you analyze the assignment to death, you delay the harvest that's been assigned to your hands. Some blessings are waiting on your bravery. Some breakthroughs are being held back not by God, but by your refusal to move without perfect conditions. You want safety. He wants surrender. You want confirmation. He's asking for courage. You want certainty. He wants faith that walks with nothing but a whisper. And that whisper is relentless. It shows up in the quiet hours, in the ache of boredom, in the pressure behind your eyes when you scroll past another life that reflects the one you're called to build. You can't escape that whisper because it's the sound of your assignment. It won't leave you alone because it's not meant to. It's meant to stir you, to haunt the halls of comfort until you finally decide you're done with survival and ready to step into significance. You don't need more knowledge. You don't need another podcast, another book, another checklist. You need movement. You need one unapologetic, no-turning-back decision that says, I'm done being paralyzed by the unknown. I'm done letting fear disguise itself as logic. I'm done trading obedience for opinions. Because every day you delay, you dishonor the calling placed inside of you. You betray your own legacy. You bury your brilliance under layers of hesitation and call it preparation. But let's be honest, how much more preparation do you need? When God already gave you the fire, you were born with the blueprint. It's written in your restlessness. It's etched in your desire. It's confirmed by your frustration. And the only way to honor it is to move when it makes no sense. Move when no one claps. Move when the map is missing. Move because you were called, not because it's easy. Let your movement become your message. Let your obedience rewrite what you thought was possible. Because when you move with heaven's permission, you carry power that can't be explained, only revealed. This is your moment. Not tomorrow, not next month, now. Obey before the clarity, and watch what gets unlocked. You've been waiting for the clouds to part, for the voice to thunder, for the signs to line up in glowing neon lights. But here's the truth, the sign is you. You are the confirmation. You are the evidence. The moment you decide to move, the miracle begins. Clarity is not the prerequisite. It is the reward. It doesn't come before obedience. It follows it. And everything you've been begging God to reveal is already hidden inside the motion you've refused to make. You're not stuck. You're standing still. And the only way out is forward. So move. Move with fear trembling in your bones. Move with questions still unanswered. Move even if your knees shake and your voice cracks. Move because you were chosen for more than caution. You keep praying for overflow, but God is waiting for overflowing obedience. Stop asking if you're ready. You won't feel ready. You won't always be sure. But faith doesn't wait for feelings. It walks. It builds. It obeys. So this is the line, right here, right now, the one that separates the almost from the arrival, the dreamers from the doers, the called from the chosen. Cross it, and when you do, don't look back. Don't beg for permission from people who were never meant to validate your vision. Don't water down what God made bold inside of you just to keep people comfortable. The calling is loud enough. Now let the movement match the mission. This is your moment to break the cycle, to abandon the waiting room of someday and step into the arena of right now. You're not waiting on God. He's waiting on you. So go, move, build, obey, and don't stop until what He placed in you is seen, heard, and fulfilled. Because this time, the miracle's not coming to you, it's coming through you. Now go prove it.